Money is made possible by financial support from Old National Bank and Chicagoans like you. Thank you. Hello, welcome to In the Money. I'm your host, Kimberly Loftis, a CPA and financial executive. I am also a Chicago Business Journal 2023 Woman of Influence, who today is financially secure, but was not always. Today we'll be guiding you on a path to take control of your financial story. We'll dive into a crucial aspect of financial wellness, understanding where you stand right now, both financially and mentally. It's time to unravel the mysteries of credit reports and prepare ourselves for the emotional roller coaster of what lies ahead. Your financial status is like a roadmap. It shows where you've been and where you're heading. And a pivotal tool in understanding this map is your credit report. It's not just a bunch of numbers and scores. It's a reflection of your financial habits, your history, and your current standing from a banker's point of view. Today, we're breaking down the complexity of credit reports so that you can get the credit you deserve when you need it. But understanding your financial health is just about numbers. It's also about mindset. Being mentally prepared for your financial journey is just as important as understanding the data on your credit report. So let's buckle up as we navigate through the world of credit reports and mental readiness. Let's decode the numbers, prepare our minds, and embark on a journey towards financial empowerment and freedom. It all starts here, right now, in the living room. Before we get started with getting our mind right for the road ahead, let's first figure out where we are financially. This includes how much money we have in the bank. Are we in the red or in the black each month or paycheck? Plus, how is our credit looking? How is our cash flow? To help us better understand our personal balance sheet and credit possibilities, welcome to the show, Tish Griffin.
Hi. I am so excited to be here today. So Thank you for having me.
So today we're going to talk about credit reports and personal balance sheets. But first I would like to get a better understanding of what makes you a financial expert.
Great question. Mm-hmm. So I am a financial expert because I have been through the trenches. I had to learn from making my mistakes. And then I found that the people that I was around, even my family growing up, watching friends at the church, we didn't have an understanding of finances, financial literacy, what it meant to have a budget. So by me learning from the ground up, going through all types of financial blunders and mistakes, I was able to pull myself up. And even when tragedy strikes or when something happens, something blows your budget out of balance, there's a way to recover from it. Now, a lot of times we think that finances is just too much over our head. We don't understand it. But what makes me an expert is that I'm here to put things in a way that you will understand it, to break down the myths about finances, about your money, and help you understand it.
Okay. And then as a mortgage broker, you look at credit all the time. So that also makes you an expert?
Yes. So I am a mortgage loan officer. I am a realtor, but I am also a certified credit counselor, meaning that I look at people's credit report all the time, not just for mortgages, but in order to help them to become financially stable, financially fit. And a lot of it starts with that credit report.
Yeah, our theme today is really about knowing where you are right now in order for you to take this journey. Because if you don't know where you are, how can you move forward? So starting with the credit report, what is that?
So the credit report is just a listing of your behavior towards money. Your attitude towards money shows on your credit report, whether you spend wisely, whether you have a lot of debt, carry a lot of balances, or what the creditors want to see is that you have a healthy mix. So there's so many different credit reports out there, but there's three that are most used and what we use in the US, which were the bureaus established by TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax. Now, TransUnion is the bureau that's most used here in the Midwest. Experian, they have a really nice report as well. And then there's Equifax that, they're coming along too, but they keep track of everything you do, your spending habits, and the way you pay your bills. When things really go bad, it reflects on your report. And a lot of times it's not a true statement of how we are in life or how we handle money, but sometimes things happen. and it's reflected there too.
Now, what kind of bills show up on a credit report?
Now, when you're thinking about your credit report, of course, most major creditors, they report to the credit bureau. And really, in order for a bill to be reflected on the credit report, for years, the tradition was that that lender or finance company had to belong to the credit bureau in order for them to report. So that's why you would see most major creditors reporting to TransUnion, a lot of smaller finance companies or mom and pop companies only reporting to Equifax, a lot of major companies reporting to all three, because really, in order to report to the bureau, you had to belong, meaning that that company had to pay money to the credit bureaus to get that information there. Really, that's why we have 3 different reports and 3 different scores as well, because not everyone belongs to the same bureau, which means that that information on there can all be different.
Now, when you say major creditors, I mean credit card companies, banks, mortgage companies, is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
So not utility bills, not rent payments?
Those typically do not report to the credit bureaus. But because of challenges that people face with their credit, a lot of times when things go bad, people stop paying credit card bills, stop paying attention to any types of finance companies that they have. But they continue to pay utilities, rent, mortgage. So nowadays, for some people that are struggling and they want to increase their score, there are ways for them to have those items reflected on their credit report as well. So typically, no, you don't see those on your report, but there are different credit building products that can help put that information there.
Okay, so it's like, even if your credit card portion of your score is bad, there might be some ways you can kind of offset it, but the goal would be to get everything right eventually, but at least they would know that you do care about your credit, it's just that you just couldn't afford it at the time.
Right.
So now that we understand what goes on the credit report, they take that information and create a score. Is it only based off the credit report, or do they take other information to create that score?
Just like there's a lot of different credit reports, there's a lot of different models for the credit score as well. And they all look at different things. The majority of the credit scoring models, they base it off of the same factors, but they weigh it a little bit differently. So you may have a score that's different when you go looking at trying to buy a car, than versus when a mortgage lender will pull your score and they're pulling a mortgage score. But typically everyone sees the same type of information on an educational score. So a lot of people don't realize that even if you pull your report yourself, it doesn't affect your score like you think, because you're doing it to educate yourself, to see what's there, and to make sure those things are correct. And like you said, we need to know where we stand now. And that's exactly why it's important to make sure you pull your report.
So if creditors, I'm loan shopping, and they pull a lot of my reports, that decrease my score?
So if you are loan shopping and all inquiries within a 30 to 45 day time period, as long as they are for the same thing, count as one hit against you. Now, that does not mean that 30 different auto lenders, let's say, pulled your score when you were shopping for a car. But what it does mean is that you're going to see those 30 listed there on your report as inquiries, but they only count as one hit against your credit score. And so a lot of people will say, well, I need to dispute all the inquiries on my credit report. Well, inquiries, even though they remain for either 2 or 3 years on your report, they are only factored into your score for 12 months. Meaning that if you go back and try and dispute an old inquiry, it really doesn't matter anyway.
So I have my credit report from freecreditreport.com. I'm looking at it. I see some things that are wrong. How can I fix that?
The best thing that you can do is to dispute it and to do it yourself. Now, you can reach out to the credit bureaus. All the credit bureaus, they have a dispute resolution center where if you're looking online, you can just click right then and there and dispute the inaccuracies that you may see. Now, it could be something so small as my address is wrong. That can be a dispute that can be easily fixed. But if you see items or collection agencies that aren't yours or old bills that are there, those need to be disputed. And a lot of people confuse and think that they are supposed to dispute everything on the credit report. But keep in mind, when you're disputing something, it puts a mask over your actual credit score. So that's why you think things might be changing or improving. But while something is in dispute, it's not factored into your score. So when that dispute is over, guess what happens? That mask comes off. And now your true score is there. And what a lot of people find is that their score is even lower at that point too.
Now what happens if I have a low score? What are some of the things I can do to increase my score over time? Is it a quick fix, or how long is it going to take? What can I do?
Rebuilding your score is something that takes discipline and it takes time, but not as much time as you think. Now your score is there, your report is there. Your report follows you for years and years, up to 10 years for bad information or inaccurate information. And the good information can stay forever, but sometimes creditors, they feel like, oh, I don't need to report. But guess what? The score only takes into account the last 24 months worth of history.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
So what that means is if you mess up today, 6 months from now, it's not going to matter as much. And if you get enough positives to counteract that negative that you had there, it won't matter at all, which is why you can rebuild your credit.
Now what about where I have some other positive credit from a Visa credit card, but I don't see it on my report? How can I get that on my credit report?
Well, anytime you open an account, you need to make sure or ask that creditor, do you report to the credit bureau? Because remember, not all will report, and they don't report to the same bureaus all the time. So you want to know that. Sometimes I see people even look at different accounts online thinking that they're getting a credit rebuilding product, and it really only turns out to be a debit card that has no bearings on your credit at all. So always ask, and then if they will report to the bureau, you just want to make sure. And if they don't, then you may want to look at a different type of card or an account or something else that you can do that really does report.
So some of the action items, people who do have their credit report in front of them, is check for inaccuracies. If something's not reported, work with their creditor to see if they can get it reported, or make sure they have the right product that will get reported. It's some of the things they can do to improve their score, and they can do it on their own. They don't have to hire anybody.
Right. That's the best part. Another thing that you want to make sure you pay attention to is your actual credit limits. A lot of people don't realize that when you begin to go inching towards your credit limit, then the credit bureaus, they may lower your score a little bit. So if you have a credit card, $1,000 credit limit, you want to make sure that you can keep that balance way under $500. When you start getting over to 300, you want to put that little mental mind block in your head to say, okay, I need to get this down. Because they say 30% is where things start to change on your actual credit score. They say that the people with the best score only use 7% of their available credit. So that just gives you a little mind tool to use so that you know what your score is going to look like, because you know what your credit limits are. You're keeping track of that. You're keeping track of when they report and making sure that they report.
Well, thank you for those wonderful tips. You will now be able to take the information that Tish shared and improve your credit.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Bianca Cotton. On a new episode of Behind a Confident Smile, I'll be sitting in conversation with Yvonne Orr.
I am being 100% truthful. People searching to find themselves, they don't know how to stand in their truth.
Join the conversation Monday, January 29th at 7 p.m. on CAN-TV 19 and streaming on cantv.org and CAN-TV Plus app. Experience the power of community television.
You will now be able to take the information that Tish shared to figure out your personal balance sheet, be it in the red or in the black. Now that you know, we now need to get your mind right to move forward, and to help us do this, welcome to the show, Tamika Hill, our raw but real therapist. Tamika is a licensed clinical social worker who graduated from Governor State University. Welcome to the show, Tamika.
Thank you for having me.
And we also have Tani Fair, who is kicking off her financial empowerment journey tonight and will share with us what prompted her to choose 2024 as the year of change.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so let's jump right into it. So Tamika, starting with you, getting our mind right to take this journey, what does that mean to you?
So first, I feel like you should know where your mental is, like where are your emotions? Like, are you dealing with some anxiety? Are you dealing with depression? Because if you are, you know, that plays into how you're gonna handle money or credit. So I think that's the initial first step.
Okay.
And once you find that, then you create an actionable plan to help deal with that, as well as starting to create new paths on, how to, like, because I heard your previous guest saying, hey, look at your credit score,
right.
But if you got anxiety and you see a 400, you're probably going to be like, oh, that's too much, and get overwhelmed. So first creating coping skills to deal with your anxiety.
Okay, so anything that hits you not the right way, if you've developed the coping skills to take this journey, then you can continue on, versus you might just stop because you're like, I can't deal with it.
Right, completely.
And then, Tani, you were ready to take this 2024 journey. What made you decide this year is the year?
Well, believe it or not, I have a 13-year-old daughter who actually asked the question is, Mom, what is generational wealth? And I did want to say something that we probably don't have, but I'm looking, making the necessary moves to create that for her.
Okay.
So, and she's even voiced concerns like they don't teach anything about finances in school, and that's something she wants to learn more about, and it's something that I know I need to get a better control of.
Okay, so your legacy is driving this.
Definitely.
Now, Tamika, is that enough for legacy to drive change that she's seeking?
It's a start, but not enough, because it won't maintain it. Because when you get on building generational wealth, or even just getting the credit score together, saving money, it's a journey. It's not a race. And so if you don't see numbers or see the things you want to see fast enough, it can discourage you, So that's an initial starting point, but then it has to be more as you go along, if that makes sense.
Definitely. So let's dig deeper. Is there more beyond
it's
legacy?
A lot more. It's a lot more. The situation where I'm in now, being my profession that I am, I'm a registered nurse. I know I have the finance to maintain and not, to have very comfortable, even, beyond that. It's just that, like Tamika Tish say, you get anxiety when you don't want to see your credit score and something's coming and you getting calls, and it's a buildup. And then once that wall is up, and then you just kind of shut down. And being something that I've, been very honest with and forward with, I've had dealt with anxiety definitely due to a recent health scare I had about 3 or 4 years ago, and just life in general and depression. So a lot of that I just tend to, someone noted, a very, very good friend of mine noted that I tend to run away from things or just avoid them, just pretend like they're not even there. So I want to face it and finally get a hold of it. So I can build better, not only from my daughter's sake, but for me as well. And then thinking to make me feel much better.
A lot of times I think we as individuals do it for others, but sometimes we forget about where we fit in, and then it doesn't last because we didn't put ourselves in the equation. What are some of the tips you can give to someone to know if they're even ready? Like, what are some of the questions or questionnaires? What should they do to even figure out if they're even ready to take this step?
So by you being a nurse, you're kind of privy to it, but also being a nurse, you probably don't use it. It's the depression scale, which is it's called what is it called? Patient Health Questionnaire, so a PHQ-9. And you can do it yourself and score it yourself, and it'll let you know where you are on the scale if you're dealing with depression. And
is it readily available?
Yes, you can Google it, and they'll.
So it's
PHQ-9, so it's Patient Health Questionnaire 9.
Okay.
And it'll tell you like if it's mild, moderate, severe, and it'll kind of let you know some tips of where you should point to. Most of them do give like little feedback of saying, hey, you probably need to seek counseling or self-help or, stuff like that. Then there's also the one for anxiety, and that's the GAD-7, which is Generalized Anxiety Disorder, form number 7. And they go off, they use the numbers because that's how many questions, right? Like somebody who does not in their profession is going to know that, but, and they also tell you like, hey, are you dealing with anxiety? And, to let you know first, like, hey, are these two things that I'm dealing with? Because one thing you said, not to go into a counseling session here, but I already know you probably spend emotionally.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Yes. Already, I just, because the running away still makes you still want to feel good. So, and then by you being in a profession that makes really fast money, you spend it faster because you know it's readily available.
Right.
Yeah, so that can also be things for people to look at, like what's your profession, right? Can you make money fast? So nurses, anybody in healthcare really, because of the need right now, can really make a lot of money. Because again, there are registry jobs, there's all kind of jobs that they can get fast cash or bonuses for.
Would you recommend someone who has depression or anxiety to wait, or could they do this if they're in therapy or away, or can they do this financial journey, or should they wait?
So depending on your score, so I feel if you're in the moderate or severe, I think you really should go get professional help just to get some guidance on those triggers. Because if you say, hey, I have depression and it's severe, then you're more than likely gonna be an emotional spender, right? Or perhaps you're going to withdraw or isolate, and that's going to cause issues with money because you're going to run away from what you need to be doing, if that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then if I don't suffer from anxiety, I don't suffer from depression, how do I know I'm ready if I'm, those mental aspects don't impact me?
So then there's the money personality test that you would need to take to see where you lie with your personality and money. And then all of us score somewhere in there. And with that, you can Google money personality, and then it'll tell you, take the quiz, and it'll tell you, okay, whether you're an emotional spender or, scarcity. And then it'll give you tips of or signs to say, hey, this is who you are, but it'll also give you tips of how to start.
Okay. So with Tani, she's saying, look, I'm ready for 2024. And should her next step be to work with a therapist or take this questionnaire?
Yes, so just because you already kind of been told, but I don't know if officially it's been on a professional level, but I think taking the test first to see where it lies. I hear the self-diagnosing because healthcare professions do that.
And professional, I was recently.
Okay. But where it sits, is it, severe, is it moderate? And then once you know where you lay, then you can kind of say, okay, let me start monitoring my triggers.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what are some of those triggers, for example, that someone could be suffering from?
You stated, when looking or even thinking about a credit score brings on anxiety because perhaps of thinking that it will be something bad or something, and you run away. So if you feel the need to run away, or even today, one of my clients said just talking about money, or every time he gets paid, he gets anxiety. But if he's broke, he's fine. Because he doesn't have to worry about paying bills.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's kind of like monitoring your emotions around money. What are your feelings, and journaling that, or just keep it, even if you're not a journaler, just really keeping track of how are you spending money, what emotions are going on, how do you feel when you're paying bills.
Now, do you see some of these tips that you can use on your journey as you start off in 2024?
Definitely. I'm noticing already the little things that it's just when payday hits, and just things that I'm I know it's a bill due, but let me just go grab this Starbucks, something that I know that I don't need, for that matter, but it's almost like the reverse feeling from your client. I feel more empowered when I get my paycheck. And it's okay. So, and it's to the point where I believe several of us is like this, where I'm on salary. So a few of us, we always laugh and joke about it, but if we get paid 3 times a month, it's
it's all.
Yeah, so
that's extra money.
And then I've had someone tell me from my past, who's a CPA, said, that's not any extra money. That's just the money that it's just rolling over from the, but in my head, it's extra money. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, thank you both. These are great tips, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the future as you share with us how your financial journey is going. And we'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Rich Robbins, inviting you to join me for the series Soft and Tender. Soft and Tender celebrates the resilience and emotional depth of Black fatherhood, offering a powerful narrative on family bonds and ongoing challenges faced by Black communities.
I would love the conversation to go in a direction to where it reshapes the image that's been placed on Black fathers.
Tune in on CAN TV, cable channel 19, or stream at cantv.org or the CAN TV Plus app. Experience the power of community television.
Ready to graduate from financial high school? Let's dive into the A+ secrets of your credit score. Today we're going to take a unique approach to understanding credit scores by comparing them to high school grades. Segment 1, credit score versus high school grade. Think of your credit score as your financial report card. Just like in high school, your financial GPA is made up of several key components. Number 2, payment history versus attendance. First, let's talk about payment history, which is a lot like your high school attendance record. Just as being present in class is essential, making payments on time is crucial for your credit score. For your credit score, this makes up 35% of your overall grade. Number 3, credit utilization versus homework. Credit utilization is like completing your homework assignments. Just as you need to complete your homework to succeed in school, maintaining a low credit card balance is vital for your credit score. Keeping your debt low makes up 30% of your overall credit grade. Number 4, credit history length versus graduation year. Now, credit history length is a bit like the year you graduate from high school. The longer your credit history, the better your financial seniority looks. 5, types of credit versus extracurricular activities. Types of credit are like the extracurricular activities that you participated in during high school. A mix of credit types demonstrates your ability to handle diverse financial responsibilities, much like juggling various interests. 6, recent credit inquiries versus quizzes. Finally, recent credit inquiries are similar to pop quizzes that you occasionally faced in high school. Each time you apply for credit, it can affect your score a bit. So like quizzes, apply only when necessary. Understanding the ins and outs of credit can make all the things that you desire in life a lot cheaper in the long run. So it's paramount that we understand these basics so that when you need to borrow money, you can do it at a much less expensive rate. If you have questions or need assistance, our bankers are here to help. Thanks for joining our lesson on credit today. And until next time, stay financially savvy.
Our discussions on credit reports and mental readiness for our financial journey has ended, but let's reflect on the knowledge we uncovered today. Credit reports are not just records of financial history, but our story of our financial past and present. Like any road, we can change course so that our future doesn't have to be the same as our past. And by using the credit report, we can steer our way towards better financial decisions. Equally crucial is mental preparation. We've emphasized the significance of readiness, a positive attitude, adaptability, and the willingness to steer your financial journey. Being mentally primed sets the stage for success, enabling you to tackle challenges and relish victories along the way. So what's next on our roadmap to financial wellness? Action. Armed with new insights, it's time to put knowledge into practice. Check your credit reports regularly, correcting any inaccuracies. You can get your free credit report from freecreditreport.com. Embrace a proactive money mindset, challenge limiting beliefs, and adopt empowering ones. Of course, there will be setbacks along the way, but remember, this isn't a sprint, it's a marathon towards financial freedom. Keep learning, stay resilient, and be patient with yourself. Your financial house isn't built in a day, but each step forward brings you closer to your goals. Join us next time as we dive deeper into actionable strategies to fortify your financial foundations. Your journey to financial empowerment continues. We're right here beside you every step of the way. If you have any questions about today's topic or past topics, please send me an email to Kimberly@inthemoneyemail.com or follow me on Instagram @Diva of Cashflow. Remember, we're on this journey together.